Welcome into the Nashville Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Jill Jelnick. We certainly have a big sports scene here in Nashville, but we also have a lot of sports voices. I'm talking about the sports radio voices you hear on the way to work, coming home from work. They're the ones that give us a great perspective on the Nashville sports scene. And one of my good friends and colleagues, he is the host of Robby and Rexrode for 102.5 The Game, also Preds writer for NHL, and also an award-winning journalist, Robby Stanley, joining us today. Robby, thank you so much. Welcome to the Nashville Game Changers podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I've loved watching it, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
You are now officially a Nashville Game Changer. And how it works is we have a wonderful discussion about whatever we want, including all the things that you have your hands in, which are a lot. I want to get into Preds, right? Second half of the season kicks off tomorrow against the Blackhawks. Big question marks what they're going to do at the trade deadline. And also want to get your thoughts on this incredible Winter Olympics that we had in Milan. That was capped off by the gold medal for the U.S. men's hockey team. First time in 46 years. I know you were live tweeting during that, and I loved looking at your tweets. I loved the reaction. It was one of those moments that you knew you were a part of sports history.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And, Jill, as you know, like in our line of work, sometimes it's hard to really root for something right anymore because, I cover the Predators. I try to be as objective about them as possible. And we cover the Titans. Like you just kind of get caught up in the work of it all. And I thought the Olympics were cool from my standpoint of like, I love hockey. I love hockey. Hockey's been such a big part of my life, but it's been a long time since I've like watched a hockey game and rooted for someone. And I was so pulling for Team USA. I mean, I yelled as loud as I could when they scored that game winner in overtime. It made my toddler cry. Like it was
Poor Allison.
Borderline disaster. And I was like, no, Daddy's happy. It's all good. Daddy's happy.
Tears of joy.
But I just think it's a huge moment for American hockey. Like you said, it's been since the Miracle on Ice since they won the gold. And nothing's ever going to replicate the Miracle on Ice, but that's a long time ago at this point. I mean, you're talking 46 years. And, with where the game is now, to see a team, I think this is clearly the best team the men have ever put on the ice, the most talented team. And they didn't play great in the team in the gold medal game, but their goalie was unbelievable. I mean, it's a legendary performance. And that goal from Jack Hughes in overtime, and we'll be talking about that 30 years from now, 35 years from now. I just thought it was awesome. It was everything best on best hockey in the Olympics that I hoped it would be. And I think a lot of people that have been missing this for the last 12 years really kind of felt the same.
You couldn't have written a better script, right? And there were so many different elements that went into it. First, it was a great game. Like you said, it was a great game. USA comes back, sends it, goes into overtime. Man, it just watching it, you knew, wow, whoever wins this will be a great hockey game. We were given something special. Of course, there's that element. 46 years since they had won gold. Of course, they're playing against Canada. It just so happened that Team USA women's hockey had just beaten Canada, the Canadian women's hockey team, several days before in the gold medal match, also in overtime. Right? So you have those elements. You have the two sets of brothers who have been such great storylines. The play of the goaltender, Hellebuyck, help me.
Connor Hellebuyck, yeah.
Thank you, Hellebuyck. He phenomenal. So many different storylines. Which ones did, for you, really hit home?
Yeah, I think the Hughes brothers one. I mean, look, the Tkachuk brothers, Brady and Matthew, they were kind of the face of this whole thing last year in the Four Nations tournament. And then, especially Matthew, he's kind of more outgoing. And, so they've got that personality that, frankly, like, I think a lot of NHL players don't have. Like, you see it in the NBA, you see it in the NFL. I think there's more personality in those leagues, whereas hockey players, for the most part, have basically just been like, well, just don't give me credit for anything. It's all about the team. So I like seeing the personality from the Tkachuk brothers. But I think for Quinn and Jack Hughes, number one, they're great players. Like, you're really, really good. Like, Quinn Hughes is probably first or second best defenseman in the league. So it's awesome to see him get rewarded and win something. But I just thought, Jack has been through a lot of injuries. He's a first overall pick. There's a lot of pressure that's come with it. And last year in the Four Nations, he was not very good. Like, he did not have the tournament that he was hoping. And for him to come up big in that moment, I just thought was awesome. Hellebuyck, I mean, I don't know that he can ever play a game bigger than that. And he's been such a great goalie for a long time, but he never really won a big game, like he beat the Predators in a Game 7 to get to the Western Conference Final back in 2018. But other than that, he's really not won a huge game. And there were all these questions about whether or not he could do it. Well, people won't have those questions anymore. Like, he was unbelievable in that game. So those two to me probably stand out. The Hughes brothers just kind of coming full circle there with everything they've gone through. And then Hellebuck it was one of the best performances I've ever seen from an athlete.
It probably, he could argue the best game of his life, his career, and it might always stay that way. And then how about afterwards, after the gold medal win, right? They're enjoying the ceremony on the ice, and then they honor the Gaudreau brothers.
Yeah.
Bring out the jersey and his two kids.
Yeah.
In a sport that is so physical and intense, it was an intense emotional moment that helped culminate that gold medal.
It was really cool. Like, the Johnny Gaudreau story with his brother, it's just so tragic. You're talking about, a young man at that point that lost his life with young children at home. And, as a father, like, you start thinking about that, and then you see the kids. And I tweeted this. I was like, you're watching that, you get kind of emotional thinking about it because, that family's been through so much. And Johnny probably would have been on the U.S. team. I mean, it's a really good, really loaded U.S. team, but he probably would have been on it, and he would have had a role on the team. And for them to be cognizant enough in that moment to think about it. I mean, there's a cool video clip that's come out since then where you can see, like, Dylan Larkin, Zach Werenski, and Matthew Tkachuk trying to figure out where they are in the stands, and then they finally see it, and you could see kind of the plan coming together in their head to go get them. And I just thought it was really, really cool.
I mean, on top of a week, a day, a game full of so many moments, that one might have been the most special for me. We also had a lot of Nashville Predators in Milan for the Olympics. We had our bronze medal winners, UC Saros, and also Eric Halla getting the bronze medal. Special moment for them. And then, of course, Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi playing for Switzerland and Sweden as well, and some other former Nashville Predators too. I always think from a perspective of an athlete, the professional athlete, man, they went from the first half of the NHL season right into those Olympic games, and they're going to have to come back and battle through another 25 regular season games.
Yeah.
No days off for them, right? Yet they committed to their country and representing their country, and for a lot of them, that I can't imagine that was easy, but how rewarding. Just very, very, very cool.
I just think that's what makes this tournament so cool. Because, look, Saros, Josi, Forsberg, and all these guys, for the most part, like, they've got a lot of money, right? Like, there's the money in the NHL. Like, Saros has got a good contract. Forsberg's got a good contract. Josi's made a lot of money at this point in his career. He's no different from the U.S. team. Like, Quinn Hughes gets paid a lot of money, but, like, they're just spilling it out there. Like, it's the best hockey you can imagine, best on best. And, it's pride. And, we were talking about this on the radio show the other day. All-star games now, frankly, kind of suck. Like, they're not very good. Like, the baseball All-Star game's okay because, at least it's an actual game. But, like, go watch the NBA All-Star game. Like, nobody's playing defense out there. Nobody's trying. The NHL All-Star game, we had it here, and it was cool to have it here, but you're not body checking anybody.
Yeah,
it's like, it's not the same sport. And don't even get me started on the Pro Bowl. Like, they had to get rid of the game. That was so bad. So, so it's rare now in sports where you see, like, the absolute cream of the crop in the sport going head to head with each other, and they're actually giving it max effort. Like, it just doesn't happen that much in sports anymore. And I just think that that's what makes that tournament so cool, and why I think it's so good that the NHL has got the players back in it. Because, I mean, the ratings for this were great. People love it. And I just think there's an appetite for watching best on best, no matter what sport it is. Like, watching the best of the best go at it and actually care. And I understand why in all these sports it doesn't happen anymore. Like, people are scared to death of getting injured. And I understand that. But it's a nice, refreshing change of pace to see it, because I'll always remember that game on Sunday that we watched. And I just thought it was so cool.
Is it safe to say that Sunday gold medal win for Team USA men's hockey going to be most likely the sports moment of the year?
I think so. I mean, there's always great moments every year, right? Like March Madness is coming up, and there will be something that happens in there that's just awesome. And it was fun to watch Seattle and Sam Darnold do that. But like the drama of that moment, it's hard to replicate. Like it's just hard to replicate the stage and just the moment of overtime, sudden death hockey. Like it's going to be difficult, I think, to top that.
46 years in the making.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
And the only reason why I would argue they're not the greatest U.S. men's hockey team is because that 1980 team was a lot of amateurs. They definitely were not ever supposed to get as far as that gold medal game. How about this? If you had to only watch for the rest of your life NHL hockey, Olympic hockey.
Man, I think I would go Olympic hockey. I really do. That's maybe very much prisoner of the moment of me because I love the playoffs. Like I love Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I think it's awesome. But I just don't think in the Stanley Cup, as great as the playoffs are, I don't think you reach the level in the playoffs that we just saw the other day. Like I just think it's impossible. Like there's too many good players. So I'll go Olympic hockey.
Okay. Olympic
there are people
hockey.
that are going to get really mad at me for
rest
that,
of your life.
I get.
Yeah. Oh,
I think that's what I'm going with.
Oh, and by the way, you can only watch it every 4 years. Sorry.
I know, that's the other thing.
8 years. Yeah.
We'll take a break.
You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with Robby Stanley, the host of Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game. We'll be right back after this. Robby, let's talk a little bit about the Nashville Predators. We're at a pivotal part of the season, basically coming out of the first half of the season, about to start the second half. 25 regular season games left, and 5 of them come before the March 6th trade deadline. So we have a crucial timeline for the Preds in terms of what they are going to do. What should they do about the second half of the season, knowing that they're 26-24, 4 points back at that wild card spot. What do you think the Preds should do at the trade deadline?
I think they should sell. And I think it's going to be hard because, to their credit, they've done a really good job of pulling themselves back in the race here. I mean, the first month and a half, it looked like it was going to be a disaster. I mean, it looked like it was going to be as bad as last year was, maybe worse. And you start to think about, okay, well, Burnett's going to get fired for sure. And then what's that going to mean for Barry Trotz? And that was obviously before he made the announcement that he was stepping down. And to their credit, like they've turned it around. Like Steven Stamkos has played great. Roman Josi, I think, has been awesome this year. Like he looks like prime Roman Josi. So they've gotten themselves back into the race. But I think when you get to this spot, when you're Barry Trotz, when you're management trying to figure this out, I think you have to ask yourself, what kind of a threat are we to win a championship? What kind of a threat are we to make a run in the playoffs? And it's not impossible. Like we've seen teams that the Predators have done it when they were the 8 seed and got to the Cup final. But I think you look ahead and you're going to be, if you make the playoffs, probably taking on either Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, Vegas, somebody in probably one of those 4. I don't like your chances against those teams. And you can't operate in terms of like being scared. I understand that. But I think it's also about being smart. Like you have an opportunity here if you're the Predators. Ryan O'Reilly's going to have a lot of trade value. Steven Stamkos could have some value. What about Jonathan Marchessault? Eric Halla. There's a lot of guys that could be available if you decide to make them so, that I think are going to be really interesting to teams around the league. And, how close are the Predators to being an actual Stanley Cup contender? I don't think they're that close. Like, I think you could make an argument they're still a few years away from that. So in the meantime, while you're trying to build to that, I think it makes sense to really look at the market, see what's out there. Like, I think they could get a ton for Ryan O'Reilly. I think you're talking probably a first-round pick, maybe another pick in addition to that, second or third rounder, high-level prospect that goes along with that. And that opportunity, I just don't think comes around every year. So it would be very hard for me if I was making decisions here to not sell. Now, they come off here and win 5 in a row before the deadline, it's going to make it even harder than it is right now. But so some of this is up to them, but that's where I stand at the moment.
And they could very well do that, rattle off 5 quick wins and make it very, very difficult on Barry Trotz and company. You made a lot of great, interesting points. I think the one that really stood out to me it was are the Nashville Predators Stanley Cup contenders right now?
Right.
And just because of their struggles, the start of the last 2 seasons, right? It's really hard to say yes. And what is, I think, maybe most frustrating, one of the most frustrating parts about that is you have several key players, star players, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, UC Saros. You could argue they are at a prime part of their careers.
Yep.
And then you have to ask the question, well, even the best players in the league have windows.
Yep.
They are in the window right now with the Nashville Predators. And I don't ever imagine the Preds trading or trying to make a deal for any Roman Josi, right, Philip Forsberg. But at the same time, if this is their window, how much do you weigh that factor with, okay, well, we need to be a contender soon or else this is going to be a huge disappointment, not only for them, but for the fan base and for the franchise.
Well, I think everything you just said is exactly what the players would say, right? It was like Philip Forsberg would probably listen to what I just said about my plan at the deadline and say, you're an idiot. No, don't do that. Like, I understand, like, if you're Forsberg, he's early 30s. Yossi's mid-30s. O'Reilly's mid-30s. Saros is early 30s. Like, they don't have that much time left. We'll see, Forsberg could play for a long time, but they don't have that much time left in the grand scheme of things. I think the problem with the Predators roster construction right now is they have a lot of guys who are still good players who are exactly kind of where I just mentioned, either in your lower to mid-30s, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with having that. They also have a lot of guys either on their team right now or in their organization who are 20, 21, 22. And there's not very many impactful players in the middle of that are 26, 27, 28. And I think that's a really hard thing to do. Like, you need some 26, 27, 28-year-olds who are right in the thick of it in their career to really be drivers on your team. And they have some good players that are that age. Like, Nick Perbix is a good player. Nick Hague is a good player. Michael McCarron, for the role that he plays, I think does a good job. But like, none of those guys are franchise players, and they're kind of missing that right now, that middle wave of it. So, you've got an older roster that wants to win and compete now. And I think, as from Barry Trotz's standpoint on the management side of it, you're looking at it and you're saying, well, okay, I recognize that, but I also, I'm trying to build this next core that gets you back to competing for a championship. And a lot of those guys right now are 18, 19, 20 years old. And those two things are really kind of hard to time up there.
Yeah. You also mentioned Barry Trotz, his decision to step down as general manager, even though he is still acting as the general manager. A little bit of a weird situation, right? But also, strangely, kind of a Nashville Predators thing. Like, I kind of said to myself afterwards, this is weird. But however, I also think that if there is a team that would do this in the NHL, it would be the Nashville Predators, right? Why is when the news first broke that he was going to step down middle of the season, but still act until they find the new GM, what was your first impression?
I was pretty stunned. I was. To your point, they've kind of done this before. Like, David Poile announced he was retiring and that Barry Trotz was taking over. So it's not the exact same situation, but even that typically doesn't happen in the NHL. Like, soon when a general manager retires, they open up a job search and they go find another general manager. It's not typically just handed off to somebody. So this is kind of the second time that the Predators have done this in an unconventional way. And on the Trotz front, I thought he'd be in it for a few more years, and then, we'll see kind of job performance-wise what happens there. But the more he's talked about it, the more it kind of feels like family was the driving force here. And look, far be it from me to ever criticize somebody for that. Like, if that's your driving force to want to get out, more power to you. But I mean, when the moment came where I was on the air when I saw it, I think it was 8:30 in the morning, and Elliot Friedman came out with a story that he was stepping down. Like, we almost had to go to commercial break. Like, I was stunned. I was like, wow. Like, I did not at all see that coming. So, good job for Barry Trotz, I guess, for keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's the Preds tend to do that.
They do.
But so now a search committee of minority owners, several Barry Trotz, of course, going to find the new GM. Part of that search committee, Nick Saban, which that news of him stepping in and becoming a minority owner, it happened so quickly. Yeah. I don't think I even had a chance to really wrap my head around that. Nick Saban, minority owner of the Nashville Predators. Does that still sound weird to you?
You know, I was sitting there in the press conference when he came as like his introductory press conference, and I was like, what are we doing? You know, like it was like, this is Nick Saban at a hockey press conference. It's still really weird to me. I mean, I love it. Like I was talking to Gentry Estes from the Tennessean while that was going on, and he, you know, Gentry has covered Saban and, you know, a variety of different stops. And it's like, there's just some aura coming off this guy. It's like, it's Nick Saban up there. Like, even asking him a question, I was like, I'm asking Nick Saban a question about the Nashville Predators right now. Like, it's insane to me that that's happened. But, like, I understand the appeal of it too, right? Like, if you're him, you're in Nashville, you're investing in a sport that is growing, the money pot's going up. So, like, investment-wise, you're going to get a good return on your investment. It allows you to be in a situation where, you know, if you want to get those competitive juices flowing and you're trying to build a roster, like, he's not going to be overly involved with it. But I do think there's value in seeing, hey, I mean, this guy has put together winning organizations. Like, he knows what signs of winning looks like. So that can't hurt. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It is amazing. Like, going back, I was thinking, go back to like 2019. And tell me that Nick Saban is going to be heavily involved with the Nashville Predators. It's just a crazy thought.
It is, and it still is. It probably still will be for a little while. But to your point, this is a man that has a proven track record of winning.
Yep.
And so I think, even though as surprised as I am still, what wouldn't surprise me is if the Preds were to find more success over the next several years, with a variety of factors involved, but also with Nick Saban.
I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing more people in your organization that have high standards. Like, if you're a Predators fan, like, that's what you want, right? Like, you want to be shooting for championships. And like, the Predators have been a relatively successful franchise, right? Like, they came in the league in 1998. They have been a playoff contender other than like the first 5 years when you were an expansion team and the odds were just totally stacked against them and there was no salary cap and all these things. Like, they've been pretty much a playoff team every year, but they've been past the second round of the playoffs one time. And we all remember it. It was great. It was awesome. It was fun, but you want more of that if you're a hockey fan. I mean, we're starved around here in this market for, like, somebody needs to start winning, right? Like, let's win.
Yeah.
Let's win big.
Yeah.
And I think fans are I think they deserve it. I think they're starved for that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing in people in the organization that kind of try to hold you to that standard.
Stay with us. You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with Robby Stanley of 102.5 The Game. We'll be right back after this. Robby, you've been a Preds writer for NHL for quite some time. You've covered the team for nearly 2 decades.
Yeah.
Also write for NHL.com. You've been able to see this club, as you just mentioned, grow from just an expansion team, Stanley Cup final contender, to obviously taking over the city and helping make this city a hockey city in many ways. What has been the most fun or exciting part of watching the Predators grow here in Nashville, especially considering you're a native, Hendersonville? Yeah. Shout out to the Commandos.
Yeah, shout out to Commandos. I mean, it's my journey with hockey has been interesting because the Predators got here when I was 5. I guess technically 6 was their first season. So, you know, I was a part of that first generation of kids who grew up with NHL hockey. Like, I remember going to games when I was 7 years old, 8 years old, and loved it. Like, that's how I fell in love with hockey. And, you know, as I've gotten older and it's become, you know, part of my career, my perspective on it has changed. But I remember, you know, being a teenager in 2007/2008, and there was a chance that we were going to lose the team, right? And that, you know, Jim Balsillie was coming in, you know, owner, leader of Blackberry at the time, and they were going to potentially move the team from Nashville to Hamilton, Ontario. I went to a rally downtown to save the Predators. Like, I remember all that. And, you know, there used to be such a question about, is it really that passionate around here? Like, do people actually care that much about hockey? And then I remember sitting there, I think it was game 3 of the Stanley Cup final. And, you know, I got there way early. The game didn't start till later. and I'm walking up the stairs at Bridgestone Arena, and I look out over the plaza at Bridgestone, and there are just thousands of people walking around on Broadway all throughout downtown. And I remember thinking about that spot in 2000, like that Save the Team rally was at Bridgestone in 2007. And I remember thinking 10 years ago, that's what we were talking about. And then look at it 10 years later. There are thousands of people out here that are just hockey crazed. And look, that was the Stanley Cup final. I know not every situation is like that, but nobody talks about that anymore. Like, it's just everybody expects Nashville to have a great crowd, have very passionate fan bases who love their team, love their sports. And it used to be a much smaller crowd. It did. And it's just grown so much. I think the youth hockey situation here has gotten a lot better. So it's been really cool to see it over the course of almost 30 years now grow from something that was really small and people didn't think it was going to work to the point where it is now, where it's become a fixture in the community. And as somebody who grew up here, that part of it to me, even though I view it through a different capacity now covering the team, that part to me will always be cool. Like, it's really cool.
Young Robby is
you hold on to it a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Were you yelling, "Hey, you suck," as a 6-year-old Robby?
I was yelling that, like some things that referees and officials that I probably should never repeat. Like, people would look around and be like, "Who's this insane 14-year-old screaming at the ref up in Section 303?" It was awful.
What's been one of your favorite moments you've covered when it comes to the Nashville Predators? Yeah,
I mean, it's easy to go back to the Cup final, so I'll kind of brush that one aside. I mean, there's probably a billion different ways I could go with this. I'll tell you this: there's the locker room attendant whose name is Craig Partnerbaugh, and he's the most popular person in the NHL. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, just Google search it. Is Craig Partnerbaugh. Like, everybody loves him in the NHL. He's been a locker room attendant there for the Predators since they got here. And it's always been cool to me, being around not only the Predators, but opposing teams. They'll come in and the first thing they want to do is find where a partner is. So one day I just decided, like, I'm going to start asking players about partner and how much he means to them. Just you're coming in, you get in the mundane routine of the NHL. You're flying into checking out of hotels all the time. And you see partner and everybody's eyes just kind of light up a little bit and they love it. And it was just, I was talking to Joe Thornton about that. I've talked to, Sidney Crosby about that, like superstar players about partner, and they all know who he is. They all love him. So just kind of something off the ice there that I think was really cool. And I'll tell you another one too. I do think there's a couple games in your head that kind of really stand out. The night that Shea Weber came back, after the PK Subban Shea Weber trade, just seeing him in a Montreal jersey was so weird. Like, it's similar, I guess, to like if you're a Titans fan and you saw Derrick Henry in a Baltimore jersey for the first time, you're like, what is that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The night I saw Shea Weber come back, he played great. Montreal won that game, and he got like a 2.5 minute video tribute where you could see him on the bench. He's just fighting back tears, and he's like the least emotional person of all time. That was, I think, a really cool moment that I think back to sometimes, where it's like, that was awesome. Like, one of those moments that you'll never forget.
No, certainly won't. You've had a lot of good moments, memorable moments over the years. Robby, before we let you go, let's finish with our In My Opinion segment. Full range, wherever you want to go with it. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. But what is your opinion, especially since you never get to say your opinion on the radio, right? This is your time to shine.
Well, we've talked a lot about the Predators, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here. My opinion today is on the Titans. I need you to nail this draft pick. I really do. And, I'm optimistic about Cam Ward, but I said it earlier. This place, this city, is absolutely starved for a winner. The people around here deserve it. We've put up with a lot of mediocre hockey and football over the last few years. And in football, really not mediocre. It's been bad. Like, I'm kind of dying to get back to mediocre. Let's nail this draft pick and let's start to win some freaking football games around here. That would be awesome. Like, I am so tired of talking about the Titans being 3-14. Let me tell you. I mean, it feels like an eternity since they've been a decent football team. So I beg you, Mike Borgonzi, I don't care who it is. I don't care what position it is. Just get it right. That's the only thing I ask of you. I don't care if it's a running back, whatever. Just get it right.
Just get it right. That's it. I don't think you're asking a lot, but what do we think, right?
Yeah. History would suggest maybe I am asking too much. But we got to get this thing turned around some way, somehow. Yeah,
NFL Combine kicked off this week, so definitely fresh on everyone's mind in terms of what is Robert Saleh going to do and blah, blah, blah. I think also the sting of Vrabel in that Super Bowl, even though he took the L and that I hurt for him there, but seeing him make it all the way to that final game, that had to have stung for Titans fans and maybe some front office members as well. So Robby Stanley with 102.5 The Game. You could check out Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game mornings 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Also check out all his articles and amazing coverage of the Nashville Predators on NHL.com. Robby, thank you so much for taking the time to swing by. I'm a big fan of you, your wife Heather, also your adorable little Allison. Thank you. You are so much a Nashville game changer.
Well, let me tell you, we're a big fan of you too. Thank you very much. This is the hardest working woman in sports. The hardest, and she's also the best around here. So let's make it clear.
Get out of here. Thank you, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Be sure to tune in next week for our new guest. And as always, check us out on social media and YouTube. And when you're there, please like and subscribe.